that's that's
Japanese people.
that's why when people say when things are American, like when Americans make anime and they're like, oh, it's not anime because it's not made in Japan or it's not Japanese. It's like, get the hell out of here, bro. It's like,
Right.
you know how much stuff that Japanese culture takes from
Adapts.
African Americans? Do you know how much all cultures take from African Americans? And we let
Bro,
that shit slide all the time. So then when, let alone like an
dude.
African American, like for some reason, I don't know why, there's like a wave of just African Americans that love manga that are making their own manga. And just so many people are like, yo, that ain't
Dude,
manga. It's not Japanese.
I
It's
just
like,
want to
yo, get the
hold.
hell out of
I
here.
just want to
If
hold the
we,
microphone, a
yeah,
big one, and I want to talk about this one. Like, what the hell's wrong with you, man? You say that it's a manga. It should be in Japan, made by Japanese people, dude. There are a lot of people all around the world have been creating comics,
Hmm.
like comics that are like Marvel comics, like DC comics, but they're making their own comics following the same style. But uh, notice nothing. Now that's the pimple. Now people are like, dude, like they're having that kind of headache. They don't like it when when we make our work and not call it comic. We just call it manga. No, why do you call
Right.
it manga? Why do I call it comics? I'm not American. I'm Libyan. Why should I call it
Right.
comics? That's the point. I mean, manga is a style made by Japanese. It doesn't mean that it's
Hmm.
exclusively made in Japan by Japanese people. You can make it like even if you were,
yep.
I don't know, like in hell or somewhere out of the world, like from Saturn. You can just make manga, man, if
It's
you
like,
like it. So yeah,
yo, we made the trade. It's like, yo, y'all, if Japanese people can rap, we
it
totally
doesn't
Facts.
make
cool with that.
sense.
We can make mangas.
Yeah,
Here we go.
Right.
yeah,
And you know what's crazy about that? For a long time, I actually had the idea in my head that I was like, okay, kind of like what you said. Like if it's out of Japan, it's a manga. If it's from America, it's a
Saturn.
comic. And, and like I want to say recently, I just figured it out. Like because I can take a manga and be like, traditionally, I'm like, okay, in Japan, everybody reads from right to left, right? Even the
Yeah,
book would open up from right to left. And then the
yep.
reason that it's obviously translated into English, but still the book is going from right to left. And
Excuse
I
me for
was
a moment.
assuming that like, because I would see people and they would be deep into it. They would be like, oh, well, I'm from America, but my story reads from right to left, right?
Yeah.
And I'm just like, well, dude, I get that, but like it's already translated into English. You see what I'm saying? I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
it doesn't matter. You can be Japanese or whatever. For example, if a Japanese man comes to America and he publishes his book, it's gonna read from left to right. You see what I'm saying?
Yep.
But I'm like, okay, so I mean, I guess it doesn't matter at this point. But to me, like my whole goal is to like, I kind of want to fit into that thin line. Like for example, Avatar. When I looked at when I looked at Dalino's work, I was like, okay, it's original enough to where if he can draw in it can come off as anime-ish or American cartoonish. So, say for example, if I get picked up from anybody, it will still fall into that thin line. You know what I'm saying? Between comic, and say for example, if I want to come out with a full color version for volume one, people would still call it, you know, a comic book. I mean, but then again, it can be either or. It literally can.
I think that's dope. And it's smart to do that. It's smart to not necessarily put a label on it. Like we just saw that article or news, whatever, on how Japan expects like just basically the manga market loses what, like $7 trillion every single year from pirating. It's because most people have grown up watching anime for free and
Yeah.
reading manga for free. we don't really get that in the comic book industry. Like you can't just find a comic book online and read it for free without some sort of paywall, payola, or something like that.
Yep.
Or you had to go to a store and actually buy it.
Or some
I ain't
of
gonna
them.
lie, I bought a couple Naruto issues, but there was a lot that I just read online for free. Shout out to Manga
Yep.
Fox, right? But yeah, so I think it's kind of good to put it or not put it in a box where it's like, yo, this is a manga where you attract the manga crowd,
Right.
but then you also attract the habits of the comic book crowd.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's what a lot of people are kind of running into on both sides. I have comic book creators that they don't have the attention span of like what an indie manga creator would have. I can go on Webtoons. I can pull up a bunch of creators that have like 150,000 people reading their project,
Right.
but they ain't making that much money. Whereas I'll have comic book creators that don't even have half of that, but they're selling out their books and they're still making money. They're just not as big,
Right.
right? So it's just like a weird like
Yeah.
area to be in, and I think it may be the right way to not put it in a box.
Yeah.
Yeah, how do you feel about that, Dalino? Since you're kind of like mainly the artist here.
Well, actually, where do I start from? Listen, I mean, uh, when you come into that kind of stuff, like the manga being, being more into the world other than comics. I mean, I don't know how to explain this. There's a lot to say here. Like you're giving me too much like to talk about, and yeah,
Gotta be prepared when you come on here.
nah. I mean, don't get me wrong, but this needs like a whole episode. I don't know, maybe a other like whole other video. But let me tell you something, okay? When it comes to Japan itself, uh, Japan in its core, like Japanese companies, big animation companies. I mean, you watch One Piece, right? One Piece. Have you watched One Piece?
I'm an
You did not.
avid One
All
Piece
right.
hater. I have watched One Piece though. I have watched One Piece.
All right.
I'm on episode like 42. I just got to where Luffy was fighting that
Arlong.
shark dude. But
Me and you
Yeah.
both,
yeah,
bro.
Yeah,
Me and you
yeah.
both.
other than that, like
Me and you
yo,
both, bro.
you know,
I
You're not
mean,
the only one. You're not the only one.
I mean, I'm just
Trying.
taking, I'm just
You're
taking
watching the
it.
movies.
as
I'm
an
just,
example.
I'm just taking it as an example, okay? At least you know One
Okay.
Piece. One Piece now.
Yeah.
Let's talk about Toei Animation Studio, the studio that makes One Piece, the anime. Okay, this studio nowadays, like, they literally hire freelancers from all over the world to do some animation scenes from the anime, which means, and this is not just Toei Animation. This is most of studios, just like Uvitable. I think you know Demon Slayer, right? Demon Slayer is doing
Of
the same
course.
thing. So when it comes to that, means that Japan country itself, or the country, Japan, they are not closed to manga, to anime. They are not close to the world. They are in the world. They are making it easy for us to access. Whether if we are artists, if we are readers, if we are watchers, you know what I'm saying. So at this point, like you cannot compare Japan world when it comes to manga, to anime, to publicity, to the rest of the world. I don't know if you get me. I mean, it's
Yeah,
too hard to
you're
make you understand this. Like
no, it's good. I
it's
feel like I'm picking up. So you're
yeah,
basically
it's
saying is
it's
like
too
these,
complicated, but at the same time,
yeah.
this stuff they need to change. I mean, like if you are a come on, man, come on, Mark, help me out. I don't know.
No,
I feel like
I get it. You're
a
basically
lot of
saying
shit
it's
to
like,
talk
yo,
about. Yeah,
if the Japanese companies, the major companies that we
yeah,
all love and praise, if they're outsourcing their artwork to other countries
yeah,
like South Korea or Africa
exactly,
or all artists across the world, then why the
exactly.
hell are Americans just saying, "Oh, this shit is manga"? Just be. It's like no. It's like first of all, most people
Hmm.
don't even know what the hell they're talking about.
Yeah.
Like I understand what you're saying. I remember when I was younger watching like a mini documentary on
Hmm.
how the animation of Dragon Ball Z was outsourced. Not Dragon Ball Z. It was either Dragon Ball Super or Dragon Ball Kai, something like that.
I know.
The animation to keep costs down was outsourced to South Korea.
Yeah,
Imagine
Yep.
that.
South
Big
Korea and
yeah,
time
Seoul.
Japanese manga outsourced to South Korea to
yeah,
make it a little cheaper. The animation was a little eh. And then they got complaints and they were like, all right, you know, let's find like actual put money into this. Let's bring it back to Japan. But like I see what you're saying. It's like,
yeah,
yo,
yeah,
there's artists that make this style all over the world.
yeah,
Right? It's the
and
same thing with rap,
mhm.
right? There's rappers in Japan, Germany, Africa, like there's
Mhm.
rappers all over the place. So it's like you
Yeah,
can't just compartmentalize that to New York or um keep it just in Japan for manga. It's like everywhere.
and
Mhm.
and I'm just talking from an artist perspective. Like, it's not only in America, by the way. There are people from my country, locally here, when they see me drawing some manga, they say, "Oh, you're drawing this comics? Yeah, cool comics." I go like, "No, it's manga." They say, "No, it has to be Japanese." Like, I'm facing this like the whole time, and
Mhm.
now those videos of freelancers sharing their scenes that they have made from One Piece had European, and American animators within the studio, and they have worked on episode uh, 1015, I think, that episode. Remember that? I'm pretty sure that you have heard of that episode. It was like legendary in terms of animation. And there are Americans and Europeans who worked on that. So what should we call these artists? Like I'm suffering from these people, you know? Yeah,
I,
it's true suffer. You just came on the wound and put some lemon and salt on the
yeah.
wound, and it's a wound for me
Yeah,
because
bro.
people are talking a lot about
It's
it.
like when you're it's like when you're an interracial baby, and it's like you know when you're telling like some white person it's like yo I'm black, and they're like nah really like you ain't, or vice versa. It's like nah you ain't black, and it's like yeah it's like yo my mom is black. Like you know I totally get it, man. And
Yeah.